City Sunday.
Good morning this week on Capital City Sunday.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future.
That is a damning non-answer.
The vice presidential nominees spar in what will likely be the final primetime debate of the presidential election, and former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris back on the campaign trail this week in the battleground state of Wisconsin. Plus, the exclusive interviews, ex-national security advisors to former Vice President Mike Pence, Olivia Troy, and Eric Trump, Executive Vice President for the Trump Organization, joining me on the show for post-debate reaction. Thank you for joining us. I'm Darrielle Fair. A busy week in Wisconsin as the presidential candidates and their surrogates made stops across the Badger State. Former President Donald Trump campaigning in Dane County on Tuesday, a Democratic stronghold, Trump touching on the economy and attacking Vice President Harris's record on foreign policy, crime, and immigration.
They announced that they want open borders. They announced that they want men playing in women's sports. And they announced that we're going to give you the biggest tax hikes. The business tax from 39% to 21%. Everyone said it was impossible. And you'll see now I'm cutting it down to 15%, but only if you make your product in Wisconsin.
The former president heading to Milwaukee that same day, Wisconsin's largest city and home to the state's largest number of Democratic voters and second largest number of Republicans. Trump is also rallying in Juneau today, where he will focus on agriculture and the economy. Joining me on the show today is Eric Trump, Executive Vice President for the Trump Organization and son to the former president. Eric, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Darrielle. It's great to be on.
I want to first talk a little bit about the vice presidential debate that took place last week. We saw a very civil debate, an exchange between the two running mates for Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump. I want to get your reaction to the presidential debate on Tuesday.
It was civil debates. It was nice to see, but I think Vance did an incredible job. I think unanimously people came out being incredibly impressed by him, his candor, his honesty, his polish. We were all incredibly happy, and I know him very well. He's a wonderful person. He really cares about this country. It reminds me of my father in so many ways, right, in terms of what he believes in and what he stands for. And I can just tell you, as a family, we were thrilled by the job that he did.
Former President Donald Trump rejected the possibility of a second debate following the vice presidential debate last Tuesday, and the Harris campaign's calls for the two presidential candidates to debate for a second time. Is the Trump campaign content with Vance's debate performance, and this being the final exchange between the two tickets ahead of November?
I mean, we are. I mean, at the end of the day, how many more times does my father have to debate? He debated Joe Biden when he beat Joe Biden. Joe Biden exited the race. They put in another candidate. He debated that candidate. I thought he won that debate handedly. Then you had Vance debate, and Vance did a phenomenal job the other night. I mean, how many more times does my father have to debate various different candidates as they play this kind of bait and switch routine that we've all seen? At the end of the day, everybody in this country knows exactly who Donald Trump is. Everybody in this country knows exactly what he stands for. He's a guy that wants to fix his economy. He's a guy that wants world peace. He wants to end the wars. He wants to stop sending hundreds of billions of dollars to every foreign nation. He wants to have the lowest taxes of any nation in the world. He wants to have the best manufacturing, the best jobs. He wants people to be able to live the American dream, and they're not living the American dream. We're failing. The government is failing the people of this country on every single front.
During the Republican National Convention, Republicans, and more specifically former President Donald Trump, emphasized a need to tone down harmful rhetoric to create a more unifying message. But during a campaign stop in Wisconsin last week, the former president referred to Vice President Harris as mentally disabled. Is there a concern that these kinds of personal attacks could impact his support among voters?
From the second my father came down that escalator, he's been shot at literally and figuratively. They tried to impeach him twice, as you'll remember. They made up dirty dossiers about him, dirty dossiers that said unthinkable things. I find it really hard when people say take down the rhetoric, right? Take down the rhetoric. They've done nothing but try and destroy a man. They've done nothing but try and destroy his family, a man that gets absolutely nothing out of politics, who's doing this because he loves this nation, loves this country, and sees it going in a horribly wrong direction. So I hate that narrative. We have to take down the temperature. If you want to take down the temperature, stop having him spend months in every courthouse in every far left jurisdiction around the country.
The former president was in Butler, Pennsylvania yesterday, and you were beside your father for that rally, the first site of the assassination attempt on the former president's life. What did that moment mean for the campaign and for you and your family as well to be back in that place after such a horrific event?
Yeah. Well, I sat there that day, and I had my 2 infant children on my lap, and we were watching, their grandfather, my father, obviously, and that's when we heard the shots ring out. And it's probably a moment and a day that I'll never forget. I mean, you have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old sitting there, and all of a sudden, their grandfather goes down with 15 Secret Service agents piling on top, blood running down a face. Not exactly what you want your kids to see, and certainly not exactly what I wanted to see. It was a horrible day. Yet there was so much love. I mean, so many people holding the American flag, so many people, you truly saw the best of America. You saw the worst of America in terms of the shooter. You saw the best of America in terms of those people and the love. I think when he stood up that day with his hand in the air and said, "Fight, fight, fight," I think Butler will forever go down as a just an incredibly, tragic place in one regard, and at the same time an inspirational place in what it stands for in terms of kind of the movement and overall the spirit of this country.
Eric Trump with the Trump Organization and son to the former president. Eric, thank you so much for your time.
Great honor to be on. Thank you for having me.